Hey guys, welcome to Spiritual Journey. My name is Colleen Jorgensen, and we're going to talk about this pretty powerful new moon that is set to arrive on November 19th at 11:47 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so 10:47 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and of course, is on November 20th on the Eastern Seaboard and arriving at 1:47 a.m. the next morning. So this arrives at 28 degrees of Scorpio, and it is a pretty powerful new moon. So, new moons are always about new initiatives, fresh new goals, sort of organizing and planting the seeds of new insights that we have. And so it is a time of a new beginnings. But yet, this chart is really with so many of the planets in the latter part of the degrees of the whatever sign they're in, that this is really about finishing up some things and then starting something new. Clearing the path, clearing the way. It's pretty complicated. So if you found that your lives are pretty complicated or that you're kind of blocked or feeling like you're blocked or you're doing Groundhog Day every day of your life, same old thing, we're kind of in this pattern that is initiating some of those things. Scorpio is a pretty intense sign. It's probably the most difficult sign to handle. It's pretty deep and pretty profound. It's yet very compassionate. It wants you to feel the depths of the emotions that come out of it. And it really seeks to harness the energy of it, to control that energy and to mold it into this powerful, pure determination of will. And that willpower is intense in its application to feel that intensely and that profoundly. So, did people who have gone through very traumatic experiences in their life know what that intensity feels like, that life or death energy that rides with the sign of Scorpio? And it seizes this energy and utilizes it for survival purposes. Utilizes it to succeed at something with pure determination. And in many ways, it's really hard to understand because it's so deep and it's so out of the scope of what we humans really want to experience. So that's why with Scorpio, when something surfaces that is really profound, it's hard to grasp it. It's hard to say to ourselves, wow, did that just happen? Like, can you believe that that person just did that? Scorpio always reminds me of, the Watergate scandals and some of the other really deep investigations that went on in certain areas that were really out of the scope of our rationale to some degree. And so Scorpio holds these deep secrets and these deeper mysteries. and really something that is beyond our imagination, something that's underneath the surface that we really don't want to know about, like human trafficking or the dark web or those types of things that we just really, behind closed doors, like prostitution, that the normal average society kind of like, just don't tell me about that. I don't want to know about it. So we can be overwhelmed with the energy here, and that's what makes it more complicated. Because I believe that some information this time with this new moon is going to rise to the surface. Now, Scorpio also really involves issues surrounding financial gains or the sharing of resources. And whether it's involved to criminal intent, like the mafia, you give me a share, I'll let you run your business, or if it's involved in some sort of sexual exchange that's going on. Money is really at the root of it. And when money, you talk about money, and money is really at the root of all evil. Well, that's money associated with Scorpio. And so people in pretty powerful positions can also be in these enlightened positions of where the money is going and how and what it's being used for. And so it's resources that are really deep underneath that we're not really aware of. When you think of budgets that governments put out, we're not really aware of where the money is actually distributed and where it's going to. Now, Mercury is retrograde right now and has just gone retrograde yesterday on the 9th. And Mercury, of course, went retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the sign of truth. And it is the sign of the courts and the judicial system and the exploration that happens to determine whether something is legal or not legal. Sagittarius is also about traveling, and so we could see some reviews happening. You've heard various countries say, I don't know if we can handle all of these people in our countries, and what should we do? Cut off travel completely, or should we regulate the travel and how many people can come in at one time? So some of those things may be happening, but also reviews in the court systems uh, in relation to previous cases or past cases that are beginning to surface. And I just noticed that President Trump just pardoned somebody else. So pardoning in the court system or legal challenges can be going on as well. But by the time we hit November 19th, we actually have Mercury has transited back into the sign of Scorpio, and it's in the heart of this new moon. So information is the key to the launching of various projects, and whether you have the funding or not to do that is really at the heart of it. And the investigation that needs to go on that will guarantee that whatever you are doing can come to fruition down the road. Being in Casimir means that Mercury is fortified, it's supported, it's coming to the light or in the light, in the heart of the light. So that means that definitely the information is strengthened by somebody or some project that is going on. It's really profound information that is coming to light through maybe an investigation or some sort of research that is done. And so news is forthcoming. Um, and perhaps that news is dredging up old events that happened in the past. So we can finally deal with them and move on into some sort of light. So where it didn't stick another time, it may just stick this time because the light is right there supporting the information. So this could involve sexual scandals, criminal activities that have been buried way down deep. And it kind of raises this sort of disgust, um, corruption and the criminality behind it all. And it's good that it's coming to the light and it's coming up to the surface, and we can now deal with it. And we could also see financial scandals because we're on the axis of the Taurus and Scorpio axis again because Uranus has just moved back into the sign of Taurus, and it's going to stay there till April when it moves into the sign of Gemini for its last time. So this is the last journey through the latter degrees of Taurus that we're going to see. And Uranus is eventually going to come very close to Algol. And when it does in the next couple of months, you're going to see perhaps some people's heads roll because Algol, of course, likes to chop off people's heads. And you could see sometimes that means that people go a little crazy, stir crazy. And sometimes it can just mean that um, there is some sort of violence that occurs there. So Uranus moving back into the 29th degree, and with the sun and the moon and Mercury all at 28 degrees, we're really going to see this crisis moment of information, and it could produce critical events happening because something is cracked open, and we can unearth some of these secrets, and they're kind of shocking, profound, scandalous, and it shoots us off into a different direction. Just boom, like I'm not dealing with that anymore. I don't want nothing to do with it. So things can suddenly end here at this new moon. Like boom, it's over. And it's we break away or break through finally into giving the information, or that somebody else is receiving the information and understanding it. So new insights like, whoa, I got it. Like the light bulb goes on. This also triggers some polarization of like a tug of war between this power struggle that begins to ensue or has been ensuing, and it causes volatility, and we move this way and then we move this way, and are we who's winning exactly? So this can affect the airlines, new structures and new things coming into the United States with the traffic controllers. It definitely can create some volatility in the financial markets. It can create some disruptions in the electrical grids. Weather events could play a role here. You got to watch for fraud, internet, theft, those types of things. But Uranus is pretty supported even though there are these potentials, these sudden breakdowns and breaking away and breaking through something, Uranus is sextile to Neptune here, and Neptune is very close to Saturn. And I liken this Saturn and Neptune combination because it could be close to one another all the way until, June. Um, I can't say that. Probably March, April, in there before Saturn breaks away and moves ahead. But this really creates this reality, this very strange reality that many of you could be experiencing, that Groundhog Day event, that like that things are weird or time is really slowed down. Now, both of these planets are back in Pisces. So we can see some of that Pisces energy, concerns about the oceans or flooding, heavy rains emerging, and just an imbalance with these two because they are at 29 degrees. And 29 degrees is an anaretic degree. And that means that it's on the cusp of hopping over into the next sign. And it kind of gives us this rushed energy that, ooh, we got to hurry up. We have to complete this. And that causes a bit of chaos. It causes a bit of crisis mentality. And yet, the sextile coming from Uranus can actually, in this crisis kind of moment, can kind of say, I figured it out. Like I dreamt it. I I I know what that means. I know what I'm supposed to do. So sudden discoveries, which changes the total perception of the situation. And this could play out on a world stage as well. The realities of things where old belief systems begin to break down, not because they're not sustainable anymore, but because we come to understand them. We see through them. And so we're kind of shocked out of this complacency, and new awareness begins to emerge that I don't believe that anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's not rational. I can't believe I believed that for all these years. If you look at the facts of the situation, because there's a trine coming from Neptune into this new moon. And that definitely means that we're kind of drawn to experience something different now. We're ready to break away from this reality and create something that is completely different. And so we could drop in to new awarenesses, maybe through technological advances, suddenly just waking up and realizing that you don't like the reality you're living in right now, and you need to move into something different and you need to change your life. So there's this grand water trine, so attached to all of this shifting energy, just like an earthquake rolling through, where all of a sudden the landscape is completely different. And then we have this grand water trine that's embedded in this new moon that involves Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, and the new moon along with Mercury in Scorpio. And this really heightens our desires and that yearning to create a different existence and a different reality. And so there's deep emotions that begin to surface here. And if there is a lot of flooding or compassionate things rolling through the earth, we have this profound ability to be sympathetic, to be empathetic, and charitable and generous in our application to these people who are perhaps suffering these abrupt shifts in their reality. There is expressions of love, desire, a connection that you belong in this group, you belong with us in this tribe, and we accept you in this very profound connection. So some of you could actually drop into meeting somebody who is pretty profound and you're very drawn to their energy and you're just elated by the experience. So whether that is somebody speaking, a speaking engagement, or if it's some creative project or some artistic event that moves you, because we are really connected to the desire to shift and to change in this really profound intensity. So we're craving this. We're yearning for this, something different, something unique. And some of you could actually be craving to escape, to exit your life. And you're willing to take the risk here. The pull is so strong to create that new reality. Now, the ruler of this new moon is Pluto. And unbeknownst to many of you, a new moon doesn't just happen in a month. This is a long-term energy until you get to the full moon 18 months down the road and your reality is coming to fruition. So the ruler is Pluto. Now, Pluto is in Aquarius and it's going to be in Aquarius now for a long time. 44, I think, 2044. And this is electrifying energy. And it really taps into this new moon and this yearning for this shift of the landscape. And it's really pushing the boundaries here because Pluto is out of bounds to the south. And this really pushes us to take the risk and to push against the powers that be to take back some control of our freedom, our independence. So in the United States, this could really tap into their issues surrounding freedom, independence, and the Constitution. In Canada, I suppose this could be related to human rights and the human right doctrines, and truth and reconciliation, and some of those deeper inset problems in Canada. Canada doesn't really like Scorpio. We're a people that likes to skim the surface and kind of be polite. We're not necessarily into rooting down into some of the undercurrents of our society. So Pluto here can really push the boundaries and it's drawn into this unpredictability. And it's setting or charting a new course for humanity. Deep changes happen with Pluto. That something needs to give, and we need to move and shift. We're not happy any longer with the status quo. And in this altered reality that we're living in, we really need to move it forward. So this can give rise to riots, disruptive forces, challenges in the court systems, challenges to the powers that be. And it can also dive into currencies as well. And this could also tap into gold, silver, or alternate currencies because Uranus is back into Taurus. And as we turn the page here, because we are turning a page, we can really be thrust into a feeling that if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. And we could be oppressed if we don't do it. Now, Mars is the ancient ruler of this new moon that is coming, and it's in Sagittarius. So, without a doubt, we ultimately are looking for the truth. We are looking to activate the justice card, and we are looking perhaps to the courts to be truthful in their application of the law. And it is the seeker of truth, Sagittarius. It wants the truth. And so Mars is exploring its options here. And it's optimistic, ever the optimist, right? In Sagittarius. And it's lucky, Sagittarius is kind of lucky. Sagittarius is the wanderer. I'm trying to seek out where I'm going and what I want to do. And Sagittarius is also the freedom lover, the lover of freedom. And so we could have some judgments coming down from the courts with this Mars here. And it can give rise to the reviewing of old court cases or ongoing issues that perhaps you're dealing with that are of legal. So journalists ride here because Mercury is going to join with Mars 3 times on his way through his retrograde. And the first time that he did this, and we always need to reflect back, is October 19th. So think back if you were having an issue around the 19th of October, and maybe it's an ongoing long-term issue you're dealing with. But what was happening at that time? And then that's in the sign of Sagittarius. And what I have to look at my empress. And what was going on at that time on October 19th? And that was in Scorpio. So it's crucial and linked in with this tide that's happening in the future. So October 19th is important. And just before this new moon on November 12th, this is going to be the second connection between Mercury and Mars. And that's in Sagittarius. And then on January 17th, again in Sagittarius, they are going to reconnect. And maybe this will be the final outcome, the final consensus with all of this digging out the facts with Mercury's retrograde. And so we need to be digging around and going down the rabbit hole. So some investigations can really actually be doing that, where you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into research, into investigations, into solving the puzzle that something just doesn't make sense. Now, the Canadian chart, of course, this new moon is going to land in the second house of the income of Canada. And that means that where are we deriving our money from? What are we selling? What's our GDP? How are we creating our financial wealth in Canada? And so it's pretty profound here. It's pretty deep. And there could be some investigations or some dealings with who is getting money, why are they getting it, and some reviews begin to happen And perhaps somebody even is challenged in the court system because somebody is being ripped off. We really have to watch for that heightened ability in Canada for the internet theft, um, being persuaded into scandalous things, or um, propaganda, or just somebody calling us up and wanting money from us. Now, Uranus is sitting in the eighth house, and the budget has just come down in Canada, and we don't have a majority government. So that is going to kind of set the stage, this new energy, into whether we are going to agree, and the government is going to stand, and we will adopt the budget, which is financial. Um, so the eighth house in Canada is about the distribution of funds, the sharing of resources, the taxation, which is all Scorpio, um, and and how we distribute and share those resources for various projects that are going to bring money into the country as well. Now, the United States, I always use the chart at 5:10 p.m., and that puts Sagittarius at the forefront on the ascendant, because you guys, I feel, are just so optimistic, and you're truth seekers, you're freedom lovers, according to your constitution. So that brings in this Scorpio energy into the 12th house. And so the United States could really see some scandals being unearthed here in the United States, with some pretty powerful people that were involved. Now, Epstein, of course, is one of the sexual predators that, of course, Prince Andrew was involved in the United States. And so you can see the results of that with Prince Andrew. And there's a lot of hidden things that I believe are going to come to light here. And also, Uranus is in the sixth house, and this is also on the axis of the health system down there. So, you guys are going to experience polarization with the medical system, the insurance of the medical system, and how that needs to change and how that needs to shift to ensure stability there and funding for those programs, and who is taking the money away from that, perhaps. Um, and so Uranus in the sixth house could also cause some disruptions here with your labor force, and strikes, problems with some of those issues with unemployment, employment rate, people struggling to make a living, because the sixth house is about making a living, getting good jobs, going to work, and sustaining themselves. Definitely going to see some of that arise. And the conversations that come out of that, and the solutions that come out of that with the third house engagement, and the investigations that go on through some scrutiny of debates and conversations, can be pretty profound for you guys down there. We all have to watch for some flooding and some disruptions on the earth, earthquakes, and those types of things as well. So be on the lookout for that. Internet disruptions, electrical disruptions, those types of things. So hold on to your chair, everyone. We're about ready to take off. I think this is kind of the first deep discussions that are going to start to arise. There could be underground groups that begin to form also in sort of a rebellious kind of energy for freedom and um, freedom, independence. We're at a critical point because we have so many 29th degrees, and this is very complicated. Like it becomes very complicated, and we could kind of get mixed up. Donald Trump is going to play, of course, a major role in this new moon energy. So just keep an eye on what President Trump is doing and we need to hang on to our seats to see where it all rolls out in the end. So if you're a Scorpio at 28 degrees, hang on to your hat. Or if you're at 29 degrees, 28 degrees, these signs also with Taurus at that, or if you have a Leo or Aquarius, we have some interesting dynamics that are about to play out. So join me again, and we'll catch you next time. Contact me for a reading at 306-781-1300 or ACCSJ@live.ca. Bye-bye.